Intake, removal and replacement, part 1. Also replacing knock sensors, cam position sensor, and harness. Cam sensor, oil sensor, oil pressure sensors in the back of the block, so it's easier to take off the intake. And this is an older Corvette with almost 100,000 miles on it, so I figured might as well replace all the sensors back here while I have the intake off. Knock sensors are in the middle. I cover them up so I can clean all the stuff off the gaskets and everything. The intake's held on by 10 8mm bolts. Pretty basic. You have to remove these. From the left side of the intake. It's just your vacuum lines and everything. You have to disconnect the 2 fuel rail lines. Another line right here comes off the front. You have to disconnect this line from the front of it. This is a coolant line that goes in the bottom of the block. Also, drain some of your coolant because it's going to come out. Just all the basic sensors, all the fuel injectors, disconnect, pretty basic. Disconnect these 2 lines. You also have electrical connector here, a small little tube right here that goes into the back of the map sensor, and you have another tube right here. It's like 5/8 line that goes in the back next to the map sensor too. I just use some masking tape to keep all the dirt out of your heads. It's usually a good idea on these cars. You will need a 3/8 fuel line fitting for disconnecting the fuel on these. If you can see inside here, it's got a little spring in here. Inside that spring, you put this little thing in here. It depresses the spring. That pulls it right off of the intake. I'm just using some masking tape to hold the wires back because it's easy to keep them back. Now, when replacing everything, this is pretty much what I use, just 1/4" extension, 10mm, 8mm, a little ratchet. This is a 1 1/16" socket that'll fit your knock sensors. Oh no, that actually fits the oil pressure sensor. The knock sensor uses a 22mm. Over here, and this is for taking all the evap hoses off. Same thing with these. They're very handy. A little dielectrical grease, some anti-seize lubricant, and some new sensors. Now, make sure your gasket kit when you're at the store has 8 gaskets. Mine only came with 6 because they are mistaken. Because if you turn this upside down, you'll see there's 4 ports on both sides. So you need 8 gaskets. Thank you, Felpro. Anyway, in the front of the intake, you have a line that goes in here. You have to disconnect. Electric wire harness that goes into here on the side. You have to disconnect. And then on the very bottom, there's 2 more tubes you have to disconnect off of it. On the side, you have another tube you have to disconnect from here, and another harness right here. And then you have an evap, another tube that goes on the side of the intake. You also have, regular injectors you have to unplug. But then on the back of the intake, you have another harness. This is what the very small tube feeds into. There's a male end that goes into here, and then you have your other tube you have to disconnect off the back of the map sensor. Now, when you're doing your knock sensors, make sure you inspect your harness. Like mine, the clips are very brittle when you take the knock sensors out. This is the first kind of generation sensor tab. It has one little tab on the top. There's also a design that looks like this. Make sure you get the right sensors with the right harness. This is what the old sensors look like. They have a little tab on the top that this slides into and locks in right here. The new design is circular and round. So the circular round, and then you have the old design with the tab right here. Make sure you get the right harness, the right tabs. The circular one goes with this. You squeeze the 2 side tabs and it releases. 2 separate harnesses. These harnesses have a tendency to kink. Kink on mine right here on the one side, and then also a kink right here on the other side from the intake sitting on it and rubbing it after a while. And they go bad. Will give you a bad reading sometimes. So make sure you keep that into consideration when you're doing your knock sensors and when you have your intake off. I just replace all the sensors if your car has 100,000 miles because they're a ticking time bomb. That's just me. So I'm gonna remove this oil sensor that's back here. This was giving me a reading of like 130 PSI. Which is totally wrong. They should usually be around like 40, 45, I guess. 50, I guess, if you're getting into it. There is a way to get to this behind the engine. I've seen it on some YouTube videos, but it's very hard to get to. And there's a lot of sensors back here that are very old. This one, it's got a bunch of gunk you gotta clean up. So, see all kinds of dirt and corrosion on this. And there's the bad oil sensor in the back of the block. The new one actually comes with a little bit of Teflon on it. But I'm gonna clean off the back of that, off the back of the block a little bit before I put that back in. Now I'm removing the plug for the cam position sensor. And there's a 10mm bolt that holds that in. Might as well replace that while replacing all the other sensors. And all these sensors I keep getting have been different because nobody makes them anymore, so you gotta go to a couple different parts vendors sometimes before you can find the right sensor. Good luck with that. And I will be making another video of me putting this all together once I get all the right sensors and parts. Till next time.